Imagine going on a holiday with your family. You have been living and working legally in the UK. You have your visa. Your children have their own visa. You've got your return flight booked. You say goodbye to your friends here in the Britain, ready to go and enjoy your holiday abroad. You eventually traveled, enjoyed, have a nice time with your family back home. Now it's time for you to return to the Britain. You arrive at the airport, ready to board your plane back to the UK. But suddenly, there is a problem. Your UK visa immigration status is no longer what you thought it was. Why? Because while you were away, the company that sponsored your UK visa, their license has been revoked. There have been stories like this circulating on social media about an Indian family that traveled for holiday, and when they were about to return to the UK, they could not. They faced problem at the border. They were denied entry to the UK. Whether you have seen this particular story or not, the question it raises is what matters here. Can your UK sponsor's license being revoked affect your ability to return back to the UK after your holiday? That's the question it raises, and this is what we are going to discuss in this video. Today, we are going to unpack all of this from beginning to the end. What happens to your CoS? What happens to your visa? Can you continue working if the sponsor license of the company that sponsored you is revoked? What happens if you're already in the UK? And most importantly, what if you are outside of the UK when the sponsor license of the company that sponsored you gets revoked? To begin, let's talk about the whole process many international workers go through for them to come to the UK. It didn't just start with just booking a plane. There is process involved. First of all, it may have involved recruitment agents. Maybe while you were abroad, it's by the help of recruitment agents that you came to the UK. So there are lots of money involved. You pay for your visa fees, you pay for your accommodation, some even take loan from their family members, you pay for your flight. So sometimes thousands of pounds is being put into this process for you to come to the UK. So the person basically comes to the Britain because a UK company says we have a job for you. Now the company sponsors them and give them certificate of sponsorship known as CoS. They apply for the visa for that worker. That company is not just an employer. That company is tied to their immigration status. So this is why sponsor license revocation can be very, very frustrating. Currently, the government have been carrying out a major crackdown on sponsor compliance, especially in the social sector. Between July 2022 and December 2024, the government says more than 40-70 CoS sector sponsor licenses were revoked, with more than 39,000 workers associated with those sponsors. And this enforcement has continued. A 2026 analysis by the Financial Times reported a sharp increase in the sponsor license revocation across the UK, with social care among the sectors heavily affected. So when you hear somebody say, my company has lost its sponsor license, don't just think of it as a company losing ability to sponsor new workers. See it that even the person in question, their immigration history is at risk, their immigration status is at risk because this particular company is connected to their immigration status. I need to clear some confusion. Some people use CoS, visa and sponsor license as if they are the same thing. They are not. They are all different. Think of it like this. Your employer has the sponsor license and then they go ahead to issue you certificate of sponsorship so that you could stay and work legally in the UK. Then you use that certificate of sponsorship as part of your visa application, meaning to say that without that sponsorship, you may not be able to apply for that visa. Your CoS is not the visa itself, and the sponsor license is not your visa either. Problem here is that your immigration permission is connected to your sponsor license. When they lose their license, your immigration status can change. It's as simple as that. Current guidance state that when a sponsor license is being revoked, sponsored workers can be affected and their sponsorship can become invalid. Now, let's say that you're already in the Britain and you receive the dreaded message, your sponsor license has been revoked. Does this mean that immigration officers are coming to your house tomorrow? The answer is no. For many affected workers already in the UK, there is a period in which they are given to look for eligible sponsors in order to make necessary immigration application. The government has also established regional support for adult social care workers affected by sponsor license revocations. The purpose is to help displaced workers find an alternative employment and also to navigate their situation. This is extremely important because the worst thing you can do is to hear that your sponsor license has been revoked and then you freeze and think that all is finished. No, there is still a way out. So when you hear that the sponsor license is revoked, you need to find out what your current immigration status is. How much time do I have? Can I switch to another employer? And most importantly, if you're switching to a new employer, make sure that they have sponsor license permission. Make sure that you're checking. Don't just take someone's word for it, because this is where scammers come in. They see people that are desperate. They say that you're desperate, you really need to switch to another sponsor, and they scam you. So you really need to be careful. Now let's talk about the part that scares most people. When your sponsor license is being revoked, workers already in the UK can have their time curtailed. In the normal situation described by gov.uk, the worker is normally given 60 days to look for another sponsor, or the remaining period of their permission if it's shorter. So assuming that the person just have 30 days on that visa, then they need to look for another sponsor. But if they have more than 60 days left on their visa, they will usually be given 60 days only to look for another sponsor. When you hear 60 days, that sounds like a lot until you start looking for a genuine sponsor. That is when you know that the clock is ticking so fast. You need to find an employer. The employer needs to be legitimate and they must have the right to sponsor you in the UK. The funny part is that you may need to do all of this while still worrying about your rent, your bills, your family, your employment. I mean, it can be a lot crazy. And some other times, your family abroad will still be calling you to send money to them. They don't understand the position that you are in. In fact, I have seen so many people in this situation because currently, most of the UK care homes, their license are being revoked and I don't know why. I have even seen bigger companies getting their sponsor license revoked and leaving thousands of migrants stranded. Some are lucky that their company find an alternative employment for them. What I mean is that some of these companies are being sold. Like when their sponsor license is being revoked, they sell the company to another people who has the ability to sponsor people. So if you're in this category, then you are lucky because that new company can easily give you COS. But some other people are just very stranded that they begin to look for another new job entirely. It's no longer a new news that UK have stopped recruitment of overseas healthcare workers and senior care workers. They stopped this around 22nd of July 2025. So if in this 2026 someone is still telling you, give me money, I'm going to sponsor you from abroad so that you could come to the UK and work as a health carer or senior carer, my brother, my sister, run, because it is no longer feasible in this 2026. UK has closed that chapter. What the government has done is that they have kept transitional arrangement for people, for care workers already in the UK. There is provision for them to switch, okay? But people from overseas are no longer welcomed. Now, let's go back to the story of that Indian family that traveled abroad. The family may be thinking, I already have a visa, and that's a reasonable question. They may not think in any way that the sponsor license being revoked will affect them because they already have a visa. But Because the sponsor license that is being revoked from this company, that company is connected to their UK immigration status. So they have connection together. It can change their immigration status. Once that license is being revoked, it can also change their immigration status because there is connection. Without that company, they wouldn't have been in the UK. Without that company, they don't have a COS to even apply for visa. So when a company that sponsors you, their license gets revoked, it also affects you directly. According to gov.uk, if someone is outside of the UK but has a visa connected to a sponsor that has lost their license, for the fact that the person is still outside of the UK, the person may not be allowed to enter the UK. That visa may be cancelled, especially when they have not entered the UK for the very first time. You have to know that not every care worker that travel outside of the UK and the sponsor license of the company that sponsored them gets revoked, not every worker outside of the UK at that point in time will be denied entrance into the UK. It depends on the timing. Assuming you are on holiday and immediately you hear that the license of the company that sponsored you have been revoked, you book the next flight back to the UK. It may not affect you. Timing will come into play. There are things that are put into consideration. So timing matters a lot. The status on the visa matters a lot. Whether UKVI has taken action on it and the exact circumstance of the sponsorship matters a lot. In fact, I have seen someone who was on holiday, like the person traveled today, stayed only about 3 days, and the next news is that the sponsor license, and the next news is that the company that sponsored him have lost their sponsor license. This man entered the next available flight and returned to the UK. He was not denied entrance because of the timing. He did not waste time for the UKVI to start acting on the matter. He did not waste any time. He just used the next available flight to return. So the story of this Indian family, it could be that they were saying, oh, they already have their visa and it doesn't matter. And they enjoyed all their holidays. They stayed for 1 month or more. And then when it's time to come back, they were denied, border to return to the UK. The real message that I'm dropping here is, if the company that is sponsoring you, their license have been revoked and you want to make a travel, it's worth double checking. If you're still in the UK and you're planning a travel, don't travel yet until you double check. Make sure that it's not going to affect you. You don't want to travel and then not be able to come back. I know that someone may be asking, why is this even happening? Why is it that most key homes in the UK are currently getting their license revoked? Why is government even doing this in the first instance? So there is another side to this story. It's just about cases of exploitation that are rampant. I think that is why the government is doing major crackdown on these UK care companies and revoking their licenses. There are some people that have come to the UK through some recruitment company. They paid huge amounts of money and they are promised that there is a job for them, only for them to come here and no job exists. They will just be left on their own. They will start, looking for jobs. So there is a lot of exploitation. So in conclusion, what should you do now if you are a care worker and you're watching this video and you happen to be in this position, your sponsorship license is being revoked? Make sure that you're checking your emails regularly. Make sure that you're checking your UKVI correspondence mails. Whenever you receive the message that you have 60 days left on your visa, or even before you receive that message, start looking for new sponsors. And also make sure that these new sponsors are genuine. Make sure that they have the right to sponsor you. You don't want to be in the same problem again. When a sponsor or a company loses their sponsor license, it directly affects you as a worker because your immigration status is tied to that company. That company that sponsored you is a big foundation of your immigration status. So if anything happens to that foundation, you already know what happens next. Now, if this video has helped you to understand what sponsorship license revocation means for a UK care worker, then please do me a favor, share it to many people in this category. Like this video so that you too can recommend it to many people. And if you are yet to subscribe to my channel, I don't know what you're waiting for. Hit that subscribe button straight away and turn on your notification bell so that you see more of my videos, okay? Thank you so much for watching. I would like to see you in my next video. My name is Ollie. For now, you take care. Bye-bye.